1718. Across the waters of the Atlantic Ocean, one name inspired fear unlike any other. Blackbeard. Legends claimed he had stolen enough gold, silver, and priceless cargo to build a fortune worth billions today. His ship was found. His weapons were recovered. Even personal belongings from his flagship survived beneath the sea. But the one thing the world expected to find: the treasure was gone. For more than 3 centuries, historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters have searched for the fortune of history's most infamous pirate. Some believe it is still buried somewhere along the American coastline. Others argue it never existed at all. So what is the truth? Did Blackbeard hide the greatest pirate treasure in history? Or has the world spent 300 years chasing nothing more than a legend? Tonight we follow the evidence. In the early 18th century, the Atlantic Ocean was the center of global trade. Every day, heavily loaded merchant ships carried gold, silver, sugar, spices, and other valuable cargo between Europe, Africa, the Caribbean, and the American colonies. But these waters belonged to more than merchants. They belonged to pirates. And among them, one man became the very symbol of terror: Blackbeard. Most historians believe his real name was Edward Teach, although some historical records spell it as Edward Thatch, and his true identity is still debated. His greatest weapon was not his sword. It was not his pistols. It was not even the dozens of cannons mounted on his ship. It was fear. Before battle, Blackbeard tied slow-burning fuses beneath his enormous black beard. As smoke drifted around his face, he appeared less like a man and more like something from a nightmare. Many crews surrendered before a single shot was fired. They believed resistance meant certain death. Blackbeard understood something few leaders ever master. Sometimes, fear is more powerful than violence. Within only a few years, his name spread across the Atlantic. Merchant captains altered their routes to avoid him. Governments declared him an enemy. Rewards were offered for his capture. Yet behind the terrifying image stood an even greater mystery. How much wealth had Blackbeard really stolen, and if the legends were true, where did it all go? That question would become one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. To understand the mystery of Blackbeard's missing treasure, we first have to understand the ship that made him the most feared pirate on Earth, the Queen Anne's Revenge, the ship that ruled the sea sometimes. A pirate's greatest treasure isn't gold, it's power, and Blackbeard's greatest source of power was a single ship. In November 1717, a large French slave ship called La Concorde was crossing the Atlantic. The vessel had already completed multiple voyages transporting enslaved Africans across the ocean. But this journey would be its last under the French flag. Without warning, sails appeared on the horizon. A pirate ship was closing in. Within hours, Blackbeard had captured La Concorde. Surprisingly, he wasn't interested in destroying the vessel. He saw something far more valuable: the ship itself. It was fast, it was heavily built, it could carry enormous firepower, and most importantly, it could dominate the Atlantic. Blackbeard transformed the captured vessel into one of the most feared pirate ships in history. He renamed it Queen Anne's Revenge. Nearly 40 cannons lined its decks. Its black flag struck fear into experienced sailors long before the first cannon fired. Merchant captains understood exactly what it meant when they saw her approaching: surrender or prepare to die. But Blackbeard rarely needed to prove his reputation. His appearance alone often ended the battle before it began. With smoking fuses woven into his beard, multiple pistols hanging across his chest, and swords at his side, he created a terrifying image that spread through ports across the Atlantic. Soon, stories about Blackbeard became even more frightening than the man himself. Some claimed he never showed mercy. Others believed he possessed unimaginable wealth hidden somewhere beyond the reach of any government. Whether those stories were true hardly mattered. People believed them. And that belief became one of his greatest weapons. For months, the Queen Anne's Revenge dominated shipping routes throughout the Caribbean and the eastern coast of North America. Merchant vessels disappeared. Cargo worth enormous fortunes changed hands. Governments grew desperate. Then, everything changed. In June 1718, Blackbeard sailed toward the dangerous waters of Beaufort Inlet, along the coast of present-day North Carolina, without warning. The mighty Queen Anne's Revenge struck a sandbar. The ship was trapped. Despite every effort, it could not be freed. The most feared pirate vessel in the Atlantic had come to an unexpected end, or, at least, that's what history tells us. Because almost immediately, historians began asking a different question. Was it really an accident, or had Blackbeard deliberately sacrificed his own flagship for a reason no one understood? If the ship was intentionally abandoned, one question becomes impossible to ignore. What happened to everything of value that should have been on board? That single question would eventually lead divers, archaeologists, and treasure hunters into one of the greatest maritime mysteries ever investigated, more than 275 years later. Divers finally located the wreck believed to be Queen Anne's Revenge. The world expected them to discover mountains of pirate gold. Instead, they found something no one had anticipated, the wreck that changed everything for nearly 3 centuries. A Queen Anne's Revenge rested silently beneath the Atlantic, storm after storm, season after season. The ocean slowly buried the pirate flagship beneath layers of sand. Many believed it would never be found. Then in 1996, marine researchers discovered a shipwreck off the coast of Beaufort Inlet, North Carolina. At first, it looked like just another forgotten vessel, broken timbers, rusted iron, cannons scattered across the seafloor. But as archaeologists carefully studied the site, a remarkable picture began to emerge. The location matched historical records, the artifacts matched the period, and piece by piece, experts concluded that the wreck was almost certainly Blackbeard's flagship. It was one of the most significant pirate discoveries ever made. Around the world, headlines asked the same question. Had Blackbeard's treasure finally been found? The excavation lasted for years. Divers recovered thousands of artifacts from the seabed: massive cannons, anchors, navigation instruments, medical equipment, tools used by the crew, weapons. Every discovery revealed another piece of life aboard one of history's most feared pirate ships. But something was missing, something everyone expected to see. There were no chests overflowing with gold, no piles of silver coins, no legendary jewels, no vast pirate fortune hidden beneath the wreck. The discovery shocked many people. If Blackbeard had captured so many merchant ships, where had all that wealth gone? Did he remove it before abandoning the vessel? Was it secretly transported to another ship, or had the legendary treasure never existed in the first place? Interestingly, many historians point out that pirates rarely stored enormous fortunes for years. Unlike the stories in novels and movies, stolen goods were often divided among the crew, traded quickly, or spent almost immediately. If that was true, then perhaps history had transformed an ordinary pirate's wealth into an extraordinary legend. But the mystery refused to disappear, because one uncomfortable fact remained. No historical document has ever revealed what happened to Blackbeard's fortune, and that silence has fueled treasure hunts for more than 300 years. The deeper historians investigated, the stranger the story became. Some researchers began to suspect that the loss of the Queen Anne's Revenge may not have been an accident at all. What if Blackbeard had already removed everything of value, long before his flagship ever ran aground? If that theory is correct, then the real treasure was never at the shipwreck. It was hidden somewhere else. The day Blackbeard betrayed his own crew. Sometimes the greatest mysteries are not hidden beneath the sea, they're hidden inside human decisions. In June 1718, the Queen Anne's Revenge entered the shallow waters of Beaufort Inlet, a dangerous stretch of coastline known for shifting sandbars that had trapped countless ships before then. Disaster struck. Blackbeard's flagship ran hard aground. Despite repeated attempts, the crew could not free the vessel. Eventually, the most feared pirate ship in the Atlantic was abandoned. At first glance, it looked like a simple maritime accident. But historians noticed something deeply unusual. Blackbeard didn't rescue everyone. Instead, he sailed away with only a selected group of trusted men. Others were left behind. That decision has puzzled historians for more than 3 centuries. Was it desperation, or was it deliberate? Some historians have suggested that Blackbeard intentionally reduced the size of his crew. A smaller crew meant fewer people to share future profits. Others believe he wanted to eliminate pirates whose loyalty he no longer trusted. It is an intriguing theory. But there is no definitive historical evidence proving that this was his intention still. The timing raises difficult questions. If Blackbeard truly planned to abandon his flagship, wouldn't he have removed everything valuable before leaving? That possibility has fascinated researchers ever since. Because when archaeologists examined the wreck centuries later, they found cannons, weapons, anchors, medical instruments, and thousands of everyday objects. But they did not find the enormous treasure described in pirate legends. If a fortune really existed, it had already disappeared, or perhaps it had never been there at all. History offers no clear answer, only silence, and sometimes silence is the strongest clue of all. Just a few months later, Blackbeard's remarkable career came to a violent end. The British government had finally decided that the pirate had become too dangerous to ignore. Orders were issued. Royal Navy Lieutenant Robert Maynard was given one mission: find Blackbeard and kill him. Neither man knew that their final battle would give birth to a mystery that would outlive them both. On November 22, 1718, two small naval sloops closed in on Blackbeard near Ocracoke Island. By sunset, one of history's most feared pirates would be dead, but the greatest question of all would remain unanswered. Where was Blackbeard's treasure? Blackbeard's last battle, November 22, 1718, just before sunrise. The waters around Ocracoke Island were unusually calm. Blackbeard had no idea that his final morning had arrived. Following orders from the governor of Virginia, Lieutenant Robert Maynard had spent days tracking the pirates' movements. Now, the hunt was over. As the British sloops approached, Blackbeard spotted them almost immediately. There was no attempt to escape. No negotiation, only silence, followed by cannon fire. Smoke swallowed the sea. The thunder of exploding guns echoed across the water, but Maynard had prepared a trap. Knowing his ships carried fewer cannons than Blackbeard's vessel, he ordered many of his sailors to remain hidden below deck from a distance. It looked as though most of his crew had already been killed. Blackbeard took the bait, confident that victory was certain. He led a boarding party onto Maynard's ship. The moment his men crossed the rail, the hidden sailors burst onto the deck. What followed was one of the fiercest hand-to-hand battles of the golden age of piracy. Swords clashed, pistols fired, smoke covered the deck. According to contemporary accounts, Blackbeard fought with extraordinary determination, refusing to surrender even after suffering multiple wounds. Eventually, he fell. Historical reports state that Blackbeard was shot several times and struck repeatedly with swords before collapsing. The battle was over. The legend was not. To prove the pirate was truly dead, Maynard ordered Blackbeard's head to be severed and displayed from his ship's bowsprit as a warning to other pirates. It was a brutal message. The reign of Blackbeard had ended, but almost immediately, a far greater mystery began. British authorities searched his vessel. They expected to recover a fortune. Instead, they found no legendary treasure, no hidden vault, no mountains of gold, no priceless jewels that matched the stories spreading across the Atlantic. If Blackbeard had accumulated enormous wealth during years of piracy, where had it gone? Did he hide it before his final battle? Did trusted companions escape with it? Or had centuries of storytelling transformed a successful pirate into the keeper of an imaginary fortune? Even today, no historical document provides a definitive answer. And that single unanswered question continues to inspire treasure hunters around the world. For more than 300 years, explorers have searched islands, caves, coastlines, and shipwrecks looking for Blackbeard's missing fortune. Millions of dollars have been spent. Countless expeditions have failed. Yet the search continues, because the next clue may still be waiting beneath the sand. Chapter 6. The treasure that may never be found. More than 3 centuries have passed since Blackbeard's death, yet the search for his legendary fortune has never truly ended. Treasure hunters continue to scan remote islands. Marine archaeologists continue to study shipwrecks. Historians continue to examine centuries-old documents, and despite all of that work, no one has produced conclusive evidence proving where Blackbeard's treasure went. So, What are the most likely explanations? Let's examine the evidence theory. 1. The treasure was hidden before the shipwreck. This is perhaps the most popular theory. Supporters believe Blackbeard secretly removed his most valuable loot before the Queen Anne's Revenge was abandoned. Some suggest it was buried somewhere along the coast of present-day North Carolina. Others believe it was hidden on a small island known only to a handful of trusted pirates. It is an exciting idea, but there is one problem. No verified historical record has ever identified such a hiding place, after more than 300 years of searching. No confirmed cache has been found. Theory 2. There was never a giant treasure. Many modern historians consider this the most plausible explanation. Pirates were not wealthy kings storing mountains of gold in underground vaults. Most stolen cargo consisted of goods that could be traded quickly: sugar, cocoa, textiles, medicine, weapons, food, alcohol. These items were usually sold or divided among the crew soon after they were captured. If that is true, then the image of enormous treasure chests overflowing with gold may owe more to novels and Hollywood films than to documented history. Theory 3. The treasure was lost forever. Another possibility is that valuable cargo simply disappeared over time. Some may have sunk into deep water. Some may have been taken by other pirates. Some could have been recovered quietly without leaving written records. History often leaves behind fragments, not complete answers. The real discovery, perhaps the greatest treasure Blackbeard left behind, was never gold. It was a story powerful enough to survive wars, empires, generations, and even the pirate himself. Today, visitors can see artifacts recovered from the wreck believed to be the Queen Anne's Revenge: cannons, anchors, medical instruments, weapons, pieces of a ship that once terrified the Atlantic. These discoveries reveal something far more valuable than a chest of coins. They reveal the real world of 18th century piracy. Final thoughts. Blackbeard's greatest achievement may not have been stealing treasure. It may have been creating a legend so powerful that, more than 300 years later, people are still searching for a fortune that no one can prove ever existed. History gave us a pirate. Time created a myth. And somewhere between the two, the truth disappeared, ending so. Was Blackbeard's treasure buried in secret, waiting to be discovered? Was it scattered long before his death, or was the world's greatest pirate treasure nothing more than history's greatest illusion until new evidence is uncovered? The mystery remains unsolved, and perhaps that is exactly why the legend of Blackbeard will never die.